Frederick is growing and it's changing so fast that it's really hard to keep up with all the new developments across the city. So, in this video, I'm going to cover the new and existing developments that you absolutely need to know about. Whether you live here already or you're considering a move to Frederick, you need to know about these. So, let's just dive right into it. Hey everyone, my name is Eddie and I'm a realtor here in Maryland. And if this is your first time visiting the channel, thank you for being here. I've made it my mission to help people just like you determine the best places to move in Maryland. I give you the market updates, the top neighborhoods, everything you need to know to determine where to move and make that move go as smoothly as possible. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And it's been about 6 months since my last Frederick development update, and almost too long because a lot has happened in that time. But really quick, if you're not familiar with the developments happening in Frederick and why it's so important to cover these, let me give you a little bit of data from the US Census Bureau on Frederick itself. So Frederick has experienced the largest population growth of all jurisdictions in Maryland between July 1st, 2020 and July 1st, 2023. The population in the county jumped from 272,786 in July of 2020 to 293,391 in July of 2023. So it's obviously a very popular place to move to, and that's why in this video I have to cover the developments that are changing the city. But not only am I going to cover some developments happening, I'm also going to cover what Frederick County, the surrounding county, is doing about the potential of overdevelopment. So make sure to stick around to the end so you don't miss those details. And the first project that I want to cover is the Visitation Hotel in downtown Frederick. And if you've watched my videos before, you've heard me talk about this project, but it's nearing completion and we have some updates, so I want to get into those. But if you haven't heard about it, this is a boutique hotel in downtown Frederick. It's going to be 65 rooms and it's going to be inside of the former Visitation Academy, which was an all-girls Catholic school from 1846 to 2016. And they're keeping a lot of the original architecture, so it's going to be a pretty cool building. And it should be opening really any week now. And the big news that we recently learned of is that they will be opening a restaurant inside called the Y Oak Tavern, and they're taking the chef up from Thatcher and Rye and starting the Y Oak Tavern inside of the hotel. And if you're not familiar with Brian Voltaggio, he's a celebrity chef. He was on Top Chef. He started the Thatcher and Rye restaurant on Market Street. It is a very popular restaurant that just shut down and turned into the Ordinary Hen, but everyone was wondering why, because they were doing so well. And now we know why. It's because he'll be heading up the brand new very nice restaurant inside of the Visitation Hotel. But the hotel is actually only one part of this development. They're also building 3 luxury condominium buildings on the same property, and one of them's already been completed and it's completely sold out. The second building is actually going to be completed in 2025. They're already taking reservations and it's already getting very popular. And the third building is going to be in 2029. That's the estimated completion date, but these are luxury condominiums. They start at 1.25 million and can go all the way up to 2 million. I imagine in 2029, if the market stays even remotely like it is, we'll be looking at much higher prices. And these condos have dedicated parking. They are luxury condos. Some of them have 3 different exposures per condo, so amazing views over Frederick if you're on the upper levels. And people move here because they want that luxury living. They're maybe retired. They finally want to enjoy Frederick, and this is the perfect spot for them. Now, locals can't believe that the condos are going for this much. We're used to condos in Frederick going for $200,000, maybe up to $300,000 for very nice condos, but $1 million condo is something very new, so you'll see a lot of controversy around these 3 buildings. But to wrap up the Visitation Hotel project itself, this is so important for the city of Frederick, not just because of the condominium buildings and the hotel itself, but also the conference space that's going to be inside of it. Frederick is a great business hub, but there's nowhere for people to stay except for outside of the city. And now we have an option inside of the city. People can hold business conferences in the city. It's going to be a business travel hub, and it's really just the start. And this is not the only hotel project in downtown either. And that brings me to my second project I want to fill you in on, and that's the Downtown Hotel and Conference Center at Carroll Creek. Now, I covered this project about a year ago now, and a lot has happened since then that we need to go over. But first, some quick facts about this hotel itself. It's going to be 200 rooms approximately. It's ranged from 180 to just over 200, about 20,000 feet of conference space here, significantly larger than the Visitation Hotel. This is what it's designed for, and it's got about 160 parking spaces planned for it, and it's going to be right on Carroll Creek, so a really, really desirable location. And some recent news that we have about it is that Governor Wes Moore budgeted $7.5 million to grant towards this project that'll be readily available in 2025. And this project is also going to involve the renovation of the former Frederick Trolley Building, a historic building right at the corner of East Patrick Street and South Carroll Streets. It'll be completely renovated, most likely into a restaurant and some retail shopping, but it's going to finally take that building that's kind of an eyesore when you drive by it now and turn it back into somewhat of what it formerly was with a new twist. And the developer just submitted their final site plans for this project, meaning it should be just around the corner. And I imagine with the budget being available in 2025 from the state, that this has to start getting moving very soon. And this will also be a Marriott chain, just like the Visitation Hotel. So it really looks like Marriott is taking over Frederick. So now we're going to have two brand new hotels and brand new conference centers downtown, which just cements the fact that Frederick is going to be that business travel location. I mean, it's bound to happen. That's the future of Frederick, and we're going to see this in the very near future. Obviously, the Visitation Hotel finishing any week now, and the new hotel and conference center being finished probably in the next few years, I would imagine. Frederick is going to look completely different in just a few years, but it's not the only projects that we're looking at on Carroll Creek. One of the biggest projects that's being proposed is actually a residential project on Carroll Creek, and that's the Galleria by Wormald. Now, this is a massive project on 1.72 acres right on Carroll Creek Linear Park, right next to the Delaplane Arts Center. And this proposal features a 7-story mixed-use building with 127 luxury condominium residences, from studio units to 3-bedroom condos, and over 33,000 square feet of upscale retail space on the lower levels. They're also going to include a public parking garage and private parking for the residents of the building. Now, again, with this being a massive 7-story building, there's obviously some concern about how it will look on the creek. And one of the main concerns that's been brought up to the Historic Planning Commission is that it towers over the nearby Delaplane Arts Center. There's no step-down buildings in between, and I don't know if they're going to take that into account and actually make the developer lower it to maybe 5 levels, but I would imagine the developer is going to push very hard for those 7 stories at this project to keep as many units inside of it as possible. And the crazy thing about this project is it's not the only large condo complex that could be built on Carroll Creek right nearby. There's also a project that nobody's talking about, and I think the reason why no one's talking about this one is there's no name to it. We have names for nearly everything else. We have the Visitation Hotel, the Downtown Hotel and Conference Center at Carroll Creek. We have the Galleria, but this one is just the address. It's 404 to 420 East Patrick Street, and it's 106 condominium units, and no one's talking about it, but it's right at the end of where the current development is on Carroll Creek. It sits right next to the Steinhardt Brewery, and right after that, it's kind of just open all the way over to Monocacy Boulevard. So you kind of see the path of progress is going eastward towards Monocacy Boulevard near the Wren Quarter project. And you can notice an obvious trend here, which is that Carroll Creek is the center of everything in Frederick now. That's where all of the development is focused and pushing eastward, like I just said. Market Street is great. Everyone's going on Market Street. It's the historic downtown, but Carroll Creek is where a ton of the events are. It's where concerts are, Live at 5, a ton of cool things like the Sailing Through the Winter Solstice boats. So really cool place to be, but it is just getting started as far as development goes. And as far as Wren Quarter goes, it's a massive development in itself. And I've covered that in previous videos, and it's nearing completion. We're about 3/4 of the way through that project already. But the newest development on that is that the massive 78-acre park that's going to be right next to Wren Quarter should be getting started very soon. They just granted some easements for the underground waterways for that, or underground sewage pipes for that they're using St. John Properties to develop. So I would imagine that's going to start very soon. But the overall picture here is that Carroll Creek is where everything is. Carroll Creek is where they want to put these massive condominium complexes. They want all of the things they can get as close to the creek as possible because they know it's within walking distance of all of the important things in Frederick. But here's the thing. If you look on social media pages or you're following the comments on any of these public meetings, you'll notice that the residents of Frederick really are not happy with these projects. And what I've noticed is that the residents that have been here for a long time, maybe even 10 years or more, are up in arms about nearly every project that's coming to the city. And their concerns are well-founded. I mean, it's based on infrastructure problems. They think we don't have enough water, we don't have the right streets, the schools are overcrowded, and they're right about the schools being overcrowded. In Frederick County, 25 schools are projected to exceed 100% of state-rated capacity in September of this year, with 6 of these schools exceeding 120% and 2 of these schools exceeding 150% of their capacity. So what is Frederick County going to do about this problem? Well, I know that a lot of residents think that it's only bad happening, that the county council doesn't care, that they just want to overdevelop, but they did propose a bill to put in place a temporary moratorium on these developments. Now, there are stipulations and rules for this. There's exemptions. They have to be over 50 units per development to qualify for this. But what it would be is that the council could determine at certain points in time to pause permits on these properties that are over 50 units and make sure that the schools get back to 120% capacity or lower. And I know that sounds kind of weird if you're not familiar with school capacity. It's not 100% that they stop at. Schools can get to 120% before they're in that red zone. So that's what they would be able to get back to. And what would happen is once the permitting stops, the council has to get a plan in place to lower that population or lower capacity to 120%, whether that's creating more of those outbuildings on the schools. Whatever the case may be, they have to have a plan in place. They have 12 months to actually implement that plan and put it in place. And then I don't know what happens then, to be honest. Maybe they lift it, maybe they extend it, but at least there's something in place, a bill that could pause development when needed. And here's the thing I want you to take away from this video. Frederick is growing. It's growing rapidly. It's growing in multiple different ways. We have the life sciences that I didn't even talk about. That industry is taking over Frederick. We have hospitality now going into Frederick. You have all these massive hotels and the residential developments. You do not even have to be from Frederick. If you search online, you see how many have been developed in just the last 10 years alone. So you could see it as a bad thing. You could see it as growth and being a good thing, or you could see a mix, kind of like I do. I think you have to be responsible with growth. I think overcrowding in schools is unacceptable. And I think sometimes you have to take notes from other counties like Howard County, who's used these moratoriums in the past many times for years at a time to make sure their schools don't get overcrowded. They maintain one of the highest rated school districts in the nation because of it. I think Frederick could do well with taking some notes from Howard County. But at the same time, I would hate to see Frederick stagnate and die off. It's hard to own a restaurant anywhere, especially in Frederick. You got to have a lot of population. You have to have consistent customers coming through your doors to keep those open. And I think this helps with that. I think it's going to make sure these industries in Frederick grow. I think it is going to help job growth in Frederick. I think the major concern that we just need to focus on, again, is overcrowding in schools, infrastructure, and making sure that there's an actual traffic plan for these new locations, because the last thing we want is to sit on East Street for an hour trying to get where we need to go. It just wouldn't be fun. So if the county can get all of that in place, then this could be really great for the city. But look, my opinion is not the only opinion that matters here. I want to hear you as the locals. What do you have to say about these projects? Give me your honest feedback. Have you lived here for more than 10 years and you're upset about all of the developments? Or are you kind of balanced in the middle? Or are you all just go ahead and let's grow the city, build anything you want to? Let me know in the comments below. What are your concerns? What are the positive things you see about these projects? I would love to hear from you. And the people that are considering moving to Frederick actually read your comments, and it helps them determine whether or not they should move to the city as well. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're considering moving to Frederick in the near future, or maybe you're just looking at it and maybe you'll make a move in 2 years, or you're just looking at Frederick and the surrounding areas. Well, that's what I'm here to help with. It's never too soon to jump on a call with me and figure out the best plan moving forward. The easiest way to do that is to just go in the description below or in the comments below and click on that link to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. We'll get a plan together for your move, whether it's 2 months or 2 years out, and you will feel so much better once that's done. And again, if this is your first time visiting the channel, thank you so much for watching to this point. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos about moving to Maryland.